The gray routing label was already fixed to the media case when Camille Benton reached the records counter. Command custody. Beneath it, a smaller line identified the event as a credential disturbance. The final field read resolved. Camille looked through the glass partition toward the lobby. The ceiling camera above the front desk was still recording. Russell Dane stood beside the reception terminal. Miles Garrett remained several feet behind him. Camille's left cheek was beginning to redden. Marisol Vega held the media case with both hands. A white transfer strip still covered the locking tab. "Who entered the classification?" Camille asked. Marisol glanced toward Russell. The answer appeared on the label. Approving Officer, Lt.R. Dane. 3 months earlier, Camille had entered Stonebridge Police Headquarters under an accreditation review assignment. Her temporary badge allowed access to complaint routing, retention schedules, and command audit summaries. It did not identify the federal civil rights inquiry behind the review. That morning, she had been comparing a patrol media index with an exception ledger near the records room. An insurance assessor had used the same table the previous week. No officer had asked him to explain his access. Russell stopped beside Camille and placed 2 fingers on the edge of her audit tablet. "This section is not for general visitors." Camille turned the screen toward him. The upper corner showed her active review code. "I'm assigned to this ledger." Russell did not read the code. He looked at the gray badge clipped near her jacket pocket, then selected a new role on the reception terminal. Visitor escort required. The change printed on a narrow paper slip. "My authorization has not changed," Camille said. Russell folded the slip once and placed it beneath his palm. "Your access level has." Camille kept one hand beside the tablet. "Enter the reason for taking audit equipment." 2 officers near the coffee station looked down at their cups. Miles shifted his weight but stayed beside the wall. Russell removed the tablet from its stand. Camille held the fabric strap attached to the protective case. She did not pull. "This device requires a custody entry." Russell released the tablet, then struck her across the face. The contact turned her head toward the records door. The tablet remained on the counter. Its strap lay across her open hand. Nobody reached for Russell. A desk officer moved a stack of citation forms away from the edge. Another stepped behind the reception monitor. Camille straightened. She did not touch her cheek. "Give me the event number." Russell looked at Miles. "Open an internal packet." Miles moved to the terminal. Camille could see the first field. Subject role. Russell pointed to the selection he had entered minutes earlier. Visitor escort required. The next field asked for initiating conduct. Russell dictated while Miles typed. Unauthorized access to command materials. Camille had not crossed a barrier. Her audit code remained active on the tablet. Russell selected credential disturbance before anyone asked Camille for an account. He marked the status resolved and directed Marisol to route the lobby recording through command custody. The terminal required a second witness before the packet could close. Russell printed the routing sheet and placed it in front of Miles. A yellow signature box waited at the bottom. "Complete the internal packet first." Camille read the event number from the upper corner. She repeated it once, then picked up the access slip Russell had folded beneath his hand. The original roll code remained visible above the replacement entry. Accreditation review active. She placed the slip inside the inner zip pocket of her audit case. She walked through the front doors and continued to an unmarked vehicle parked several streets away. Corinne Shaw answered on the first ring. Camille gave her 4 facts. The event number, the classification, the custody route, the approving officer. Corinne checked the accreditation protocol while Camille held a sealed cooling pad against her cheek. If Miles signed the yellow box before the end of the shift, the lobby footage would remain inside Russell's command chain. Back in the records room, Russell turned the routing sheet toward Miles and tapped the signature line. The camera file was still recording, so why had Russell already marked the incident resolved? Marisol Vega lifted the desk receiver and entered the maintenance extension. Russell Dane stood beside the records work table while the call passed through 2 menu prompts. A red voicemail indicator appeared on the base. The recorded message said the equipment desk had closed for the day. Marisol replaced the receiver. "There is no technician on duty." Russell slid the batch manifest toward her. Leave the file pending until they answer. The maintenance ledger remained open beside her elbow. No fault number appeared for the lobby recorder. 2 earlier equipment complaints had service numbers written in blue ink. Both had been released without command approval. This one had no service number. It was the only one waiting. Across the building, Miles Garrett held a countersign card between his fingers. Russell's description had already been typed on the accompanying summary. Miles's name was required beneath the statement, confirming that Camille had approached Russell before physical contact. Miles had watched the contact. Camille had not moved toward him. Russell placed a sealed evaluation envelope on the corner of the work table. Miles's annual assignment recommendation was inside. Russell did not open it. "You were present," he said. "Finish your part." Miles turned the countersign card over. A narrow line on the back allowed a second witness to record a disagreement. Using it would prevent the material from being treated as an uncontested internal event. Marisol pointed to the line without speaking. Russell moved the batch manifest over it. At a neighborhood clinic, Camille Benton sat beneath a numbered intake sign while a nurse photographed the mark along her cheek. Camille gave the event number but did not describe Russell's motive. She listed what he had done, the order in which he had done it, and the custody route he selected afterward. Corinne Shaw waited beside a metal supply cabinet. "The department says the recording is under technical review," she said. Camille looked at the clinic discharge card in her hand. Was a fault number provided? No. Camille did not call the department. She opened the accreditation spreadsheet on Corinne's laptop and filtered 3 months of command exceptions by approving officer. Russell's initials appeared repeatedly. The dates alone did not prove interference. Camille added 4 columns. Complaint type, recording status, transfer delay, outside business contact. Several rows contained the same delay language. Technical clarification pending, equipment review requested, vendor, response, outstanding. The wording changed. The waiting did not. Back at headquarters, Marisol opened a storage drawer and removed 4 exception cover pages from prior complaints involving Russell's unit. Each page listed a different reason for delayed transfer. None included a completed repair order. 1 complaint involved a hand injury during an arrest. 1 involved a search of a delivery driver. 2 involved patrol encounters near commercial blocks managed by Crane Protective Services. Marisol compared the dates with a contractor invoice attached to a patrol allocation map. The invoice described enhanced coordination during the same week. 1 complaint recording had disappeared from the index. She placed a chain break notice in the outgoing tray. The notice did not accuse Russell of corruption. It stated 1 operational fact. Material connected to a command officer was being held without a documented technical basis. Russell saw the form before the civilian courier arrived. He removed it from the tray. "The commission can receive it after maintenance responds." Marisol took a second copy from the carbon set. The accreditation rule allows direct intake. Russell held out his hand. Marisol walked past him and pressed the copy beneath the civilian intake stamp near the public records window. The metal handle came down once. A date and time appeared across the lower edge. Russell could still dispute the notice. He could no longer make it disappear inside his office. Miles remained at the work table. His thumb rested on the front of the countersign card. Russell waited behind him. Miles turned the card over. Under witness account differs, he wrote 1 sentence. Camille Benton did not advance toward Lieutenant Dane before contact. He added his identification number. Russell picked up the card and read the line. The sealed evaluation envelope remained on the table between them. Corinne and Ruth Donnelly arrived during the scheduled accreditation closeout. No emergency vehicles entered the lot. Ruth carried a document satchel and the stamped chain break notice. Russell presented the current event as a technical delay. Ruth asked for the maintenance ledger. Then the batch manifest. Then the exception cover pages from the previous quarter. Marisol placed 4 older pages beside the current one. Camille stood at the end of the table without identifying her federal role. Ruth aligned the pages by approval code. The same code appeared 5 times. On the final page, the complaint number matched the number printed on the Crane Protective Services invoice. Sign the card and protect the assignment Russell controlled, or record the disagreement and place your own name against his account. Which would you choose before knowing anyone outside the building was coming? That clause does not apply here. Ruth Donnelly placed a blue-edged policy card on the acrylic lectern. Russell Dane remained seated beside Chief Thomas Calder. Camille Benton watched from the end of the review table. Russell had cited the command continuity provision. The first sentence allowed a ranking officer to retain sensitive material during an active tactical operation. Russell had read that sentence twice. Ruth opened the compliance binder and continued to the next line. An officer named in the underlying allegation could not direct storage, review, or release. Russell adjusted the microphone. The event involved restricted command information. Camille looked at the custody diagram projected behind Ruth. Her name appeared on one side. Russell's appeared inside the box, marked Involved Personnel. The tactical operation Russell described did not exist. The confrontation had occurred inside headquarters. No arrest operation was active. No confidential source appeared in the event. Only Camille's audit assignment had been restricted. Ruth placed a bank remittance schedule beside the custody diagram. Payments from Crane Protective Services appeared across 18 months. A procurement ledger showed when the company requested increased patrol presence around properties managed for private clients. The dates matched several complaint closures involving Russell's unit. One involved an injured delivery driver. One involved a pedestrian search near a retail block. Another involved force during a vehicle detention. Each complaint had entered the same command-controlled channel. Each had remained there until outside review was no longer possible or the available visual material had expired. Elliot Crane's sealed interview transcript added the remaining connection. He admitted paying Russell for consulting availability while requesting patrol adjustments that benefited company clients. Camille's federal role was confirmed only after Ruth completed the custody finding. She had been assigned to examine how command-level complaints moved through Stonebridge Police Headquarters. Her position did not change what the lobby recording showed. It explained why she had recognized the diversion before the file entered the same channel as the earlier cases. Russell asked whether the lobby assault could be separated from the contractor investigation. Ruth closed the compliance binder. Separate findings, shared conduct pattern. Miles Garrett testified next. He described the moment Russell struck Camille and admitted he had not intervened. No one asked him to call that hesitation reasonable. He explained the sentence he later entered against Russell's account. The disagreement had prevented the event from being treated as uncontested. It did not erase the seconds when he stood still. Marisol Vega brought a sealed envelope containing her earlier working notes. She had recorded unusual storage decisions for years, but had not sent them outside the department. Her final notice preserved the current ceiling feed. Her earlier silence remained part of the integrity finding. Thomas Calder received an accreditation certificate marked conditional. Ruth also removed his authority to approve evidence exceptions, complaint closures, or internal retention decisions involving command personnel. Calder had not ordered Russell to strike Camille. He had approved the structure that allowed Russell to control what happened afterward. The commission required every command-level complaint closed during Calder's tenure to be compared against the original retention schedule. His continued appointment would be reviewed after the outside audit, not before it. Russell's command authority ended before the meeting adjourned. A municipal compliance officer collected his access token. Russell was later terminated and referred for prosecution involving assault, evidence interference, falsification of an official incident record, and the corrupt services arrangement. Crane Protective Services received a procurement suspension letter. Its city agreement was canceled. Pending payments were frozen, while prosecutors reviewed the remittance schedule. Elliot Crane and the company were barred from bidding on new municipal work during the investigation. Miles received a formal failure to intervene finding and lost eligibility for a preferred assignment cycle. His later action preserved evidence and reduced the employment sanction. It did not turn him into the officer who had acted when Camille first needed one. Marisol remained employed during the historical review. Her personnel record stated that private notes were not a substitute for reporting a custody breach. She was removed from supervisory consideration until the review of the older cases was complete. Ruth then opened Camille's incident entry. The classification credential disturbance resolved was voided. The replacement entry stated that an authorized reviewer had reported physical contact by a command officer, followed by an attempt by that officer to control the resulting evidence. The visitor restriction Russell had entered against Camille was removed from the access history. The original change remained preserved beneath the correction for investigative use. 4 older complaints were reopened. The city contacted each complainant through independent counsel. Missing footage was recorded as an evidence-handling failure rather than an absence of supporting evidence. 2 use-of-force findings were returned for new review. 1 altered report was transferred to the prosecutor examining Russell's unit. The people named in those files did not receive promises about outcomes. They received new case numbers, outside reviewers, and written confirmation that Russell's earlier closures no longer controlled their complaints. The corrective order created the Independent Command Incident Custody Rule. Any allegation naming a lieutenant, captain, or chief would transfer immediately to a civilian custodian. The named officer could not select the final category. A direct subordinate could not serve as the only confirming witness. Any claim of equipment failure required certification from a separate department. A witness disagreement remained attached as its own item. Contractor requests affecting patrol placement had to remain linked to the approving official. A missing recording following a command exception would trigger an evidence-handling inquiry before the underlying complaint could be closed. Several weeks later, Camille completed her federal oath in a small administrative office. She signed the oath certificate, returned the pen, and placed her credential inside her jacket. There was no announcement at Stonebridge headquarters. A civilian courier arrived through the evidence entrance carrying an empty evidence crate. The first new command-level complaint was placed inside it. A white custody seal crossed the lid. Beside the crate sat 4 envelopes addressed to the complainants whose files had been reopened. Each envelope carried a new outside review number. No Stonebridge commander signed the receiving line. From that day forward, any file naming a command officer left that officer's chain at its first entry. Russell believed the policy had allowed him to protect the department. What if the policy had been protecting him? This story is fictional,